in a couple of minutes early just so I can head into Facebook and invite our viewers in from there. So I hope you are well. Just give me a quick second to log in. This should now be working. Fingers crossed. We'll see. So hello, good morning. How are you doing? Weather-wise, it's a mixed bag again, to be honest. It's been raining really heavy over the last couple of days. We've had a little bit of sunshine over the weekend. It's been a real kind of mixture. Today the sun is shining, but it is still cold and occasionally a little bit overcast. So I'm hoping wherever you are, the sun is shining. I've got some nice summer makes for you today. I'm going to do some earrings using some lovely kind of faceted dyed jade. They're small and colourful, and there is 5 different colourways I think for you to choose from today. We've also put a little bundle on, so if you can't decide, you can get them all. I'm going to be using some nylon thread because it's perfect because it's invisible, so you can't see the thread and you can bring it back through, but you can use whatever stringy material you want to with this. I might even demo with a little bit of wire because you can get the same effect with it. It will add that structure. I do find it's a little bit less forgiving than using the nylon thread in this make because we are just doing a right angle weave. It's a little bit of like bead stringing essentially to create those lovely little, they're like square diamond patterns. So the reason I might do it with the wire though is just to show it up on camera. I have got a dark coloured mat down because I'm hoping it will show up a little bit more for you. So I'm going to say a quick hello to everybody before I take you over to the website. I am on the browser. That often cuts me off because I still can't get the sound to adjust on the other one. So it might cut off, but I'll fix it. So good morning to Rachel, who's in a sunny Barrow. Good morning to Teresa. Jan is saying hello from a rainy Sudbury, so you've got your mixed bag as well. And she's saying good morning to everybody. Rachel says, oh, eventful Saturday with 20,000 plus bikers here to commemorate Hairy Biker Dave Myers. Now, I went, it was my mother-in-law's birthday this week on Wednesday. And on Saturday, we went up to Lynn, which is a beautiful place. We've got a relative who lives there, and we went to have a lovely little like lunch, Saturday lunch out. And when we were driving up, there was hundreds of people on each motorway bridge looking, and we were like, what are they looking for? So we pulled over to see what it was, and we had a little Google, and of course we seen it was kind of a memorial bike. Wasn't a race, was it? It was a ride. It's not a drive if you're on a bike, is it? And they were going across the country, and we didn't see them because we were there. It must have been around 1 o'clock, and I think they had their break from 12:30 till 1 at Knutsford Services, which is near where we were. So we didn't get to see them, but we got to see all the people supporting them. And I believe there was 20,000 or more. That's incredible. I hope you've had a busy but fun a nice weekend anyway, Rachel. Good morning to Camille. She's asking if I had a nice weekend. I did, yeah, that's what I was doing. Husband's been working away. Got lots of makes and bits and bobs done, lots of personal gifts starting to get made. It's never ending, but yeah, I had a lovely weekend. Thank you very much. Sue says, good morning to everybody. Should have played golf today, but the golf course is flooded, so here I am. So you can see already we've got rainy, sunny, flooding. I hope everyone's staying dry, and I hope the sunshine does come out. These makes should hopefully, get us feeling in the mood for a bit of sunshine. They're lovely and colourful and bright. Good morning to Pauline, who's got no sun where she is. Good morning to Anne. Hello to Birgit, who's in a sunny but windy Germany. Camille says it's very chilly, but you can see a bit of blue sky. Trish is in as well. Yeah, I know, Jan, so much for the summer. Good morning to Elaine. Hello to Robin. She says good morning to Lady Natalie and to my TB pals. Had a great weekend. Went to a huge jazz festival in Columbia, Maryland. The talent was awesome and the music was off the proverbial chain. Loving that, Robin. So glad you had a lovely time. That sounds loads of fun. And hello to Carol. Right, I'm going to take you over to the website, which is totallybeads.co.uk. As I'm sure you know, and I'm going to head into the video tutorial categories. So you can click in it here. You can go into learn to make jewelry. There'll be another one pop up with our faces on. You can see whatever, there's loads of different ways to get into this. But if you head into the video tutorials, you'll see these are where our kits are, some of the makes that we've been working on lately. Today I'm going to do the Persephone Jade earrings. And you can see that we've got lots of lovely colours for you, or you can buy the mega bundle, which is 5 colours. So I've got a Mardi Gras, which is gorgeous. It's reds and greens and yellows. We've got pastels, which are more, of course, a pastel shade. You've got purples, lilacs, peaches, green tones in there. We've got sprinkles, which is really, really sweet. They are kind of turquoise and blues and cherry reds and strawberry reds and light red, just pinks. They're gorgeous, really, really lovely mix of colours. Summer Garden. Today I'm feeling the Summer Garden. I am going to be doing the pastels, I think, to demo with, but I'm absolutely loving all of them. These have got your purples, your greens, more kind of deeper tones in there. And we've got Tutti Frutti, which is just the cutest name ever. They've got a whole mix of all sorts, greens, yellows, pinks. Just lovely, lovely colours. They're all £3.99. We do ship worldwide, as you know, so you can change your currency at the top of the page here if you need to. And if you can't decide, you can buy a bundle for £14.99, which is heavily discounted. It should be £19.95. And you can make up all colours in that. Now, they do come on different ear wires, but all you will need for this kit is your stringing material. I'm using the nylon, the ear wires, and those gorgeous little jade. They're quite faceted as well, so they just add that little bit more sparkle. So I'll show you what's in them. These are your Mardi Gras. As I say, you're getting your 4mm dyed jade beads, your earring wires, which are like little ball pinch ones, and you're getting your nylon thread. So camera's already cut off, which isn't great, is it? These are the colours that you're getting in this kit, so you can see the information there. We're going with the gold plated ear wires for this, and your nylon thread is 0.25mm. That's all you need, and this is how they look together. So they are your Mardi Gras. I'm just going to fix my camera while I show you the next colourway. Though, to be fair, it might be worthwhile keeping it off for a little bit longer. It's really frustrating me at the moment, though. Completely gone off. I do apologise. Okay, so your next colourway are the pastels. Again, everything you need in your kit will be there for you. This is how they look together. So you're getting those lovely faceted jade beads, you're getting your ear wires, and you're getting your nylon, and the colour of your ear wires are champagne on the pastel mix. So you can see how they look in and how they look together as well. This is your sprinkles, and I'm using the rhodium coloured ear wires for that. Oh no, they're silver plated ones, are they? You can mix them up if you get the mix anyway. So that is that colourway for you. Sorry, I am now a little bit distracted. We've got the Summer Garden, which is £3.99 as well. They are on the black plated. And we also have the Tutti Frutti, which look like this. So you can see all the gorgeous colour mixes in there. If you need to find out any of your information for your materials, you can just scroll down the bottom, but there's really not much to it. As I say, you can use any beading thread you want with these. I like the invisible thread because you can't see where I've brought that through. And I think they just... sorry. Oh dear, do apologise. Feedback. It's not a good start to the day. Let's take you into the bundle kit, which is £14.99, and you're getting all of your colourways there. So that makes up 5 pairs for you. And when my camera works, I'll take you back down on the mat, and you can see how they look. Let's check. Am I on? Is it working? Oh, I do apologise. If it's not one thing, it's another, isn't it? Right, let me stop sharing my screen. Let me take you down on the mat while the camera's working. It was all lovely in position. So I've put it on the dark one today, just this dark background, because I think you should be able to see my nylon thread a little bit better. Good morning to Joanne. Hello to Anna. Good morning to Sharon. Camille saying gremlins already. Yes, indeedy. And good morning to Lorna. How are you doing? She says, hi, Natalie. Good morning from Texas. So you can see we've got 5 gorgeous pairs of earrings for you. They are all gorgeous in terms of colour. And we've got these lovely little, they are dyed jade. And they've got this lovely little facet to them. So that makes them a little bit sparkly and really gorgeous. And you can see the mix of tones in those. And they are extremely straightforward to do. And they are very comfortable to wear. Given the fact they are quite large, where's my ruler? They are, when I say they're quite large, they're about 1 inch each way. But they're really light to wear, really, really lovely. Hello to Glenna, who's watching from the Philippines. How lovely. Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to get going with you while the camera's working. So in order to start, I'm going to take my beading thread, this being the nylon wire. So it is invisible, but thankfully on the background here, which is darker, you can see it a little bit easier. And I'm going to take about 60 to 70 centimetres per e-ring. So that's going to be all included in your kit if you choose to get your kit with us today. I'm basically just using one big long arm span. So I'm just going to hold it up. And I'll tend to have a lot more than I need because I tend to bring it back through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my beads, and for each earring I'm going to use 36 of the beads in total. And if I show you this lovely summer garden mix, you'll see some of the beautiful colours that we've got there, and they are tiny, lovely, beautiful kind of this is the pastel colours I'm using, I do apologise. And they are slightly faceted, so you've got that lovely little twinkle on them. So what I'm going to do to start off is I'm just going to run the nylon thread through my fingers. That's going to warm it up, get any kinks out of it. If it is particularly curly, you could always pop it in some warm water for a little bit, and that will kind of straighten it out a little bit. Good morning to Brian, who's in Alabama, and Amina says the colours are lovely. So to start off, I'm not picking up any particular colour. If you want to, you can, cherry pick your colours out if you want, but I'm just going to pop 3 of any of my mix onto my thread. So I will probably do it in the wire as well, as I say, just so you can see, but so far it's showing up. So I'm going to pop 3 of my beads onto my wire and bringing those 2 tail ends up together on my thread. Just so I can bring them down into the middle, and I can find the middle quite easily. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take another bead and I'm going to pop that onto one end. And then I'm going to bring the other end back through in the opposite direction. So it's creating this kind of right angle weave effect, really straightforward to do. So you can see there, hopefully I've got the thread going through the same bead, but two ends going in different directions. And then as I pull this together, I'm going to try and keep them roughly in the middle. You'll see I've created this little kind of circle. And for this size, I'm going to make 4 of the circles, but they're all going to share one. So this is what I'm referring to as a circle, and each little circle is going to share one bead. So I'm put 3 on to begin with, brought back through the 4th, and then for all the next ones, I just need to put 1 on each side. So stringing 1 onto the left and stringing 1 onto the right, and then picking up another bead, and I can put that on either the left side or the right side, it doesn't matter. I'm going to bring that back through in the opposite direction, and then gently pull onto those 2 ends, and that will create my second little circle. So the reason why I like to use the nylon thread is because it's very, very strong. It is invisible, so you can't necessarily see that thread path that you're creating. But also I find it quite forgiving. It doesn't knot and tangle easily like I often find when I'm doing like a stitch beading project. I often get into a bit of a tangle. And if I do create a little knot in it, it's really easy to just kind of unpick it and untwist it. Whereas if you're using something like a wire, you need to try and keep that wire straight because it's easy to kink the wire. And if you're using a thin enough wire, so I would probably use a 0.3, which I think is a 28 gauge, it can be a little bit more brittle. So this is a really good size because I can bring that through multiple times and I can, create that shape. You'll see it does start to curl to begin with. Don't worry too much about that. It will flatten out. As you can see, when I run that back through, it sits nice and flat for me. So that's my 3rd little cluster. And then I'm going for my 4th now. So I'm just going to pop 1 onto one side again, 1 onto the other, and then bring it back through. So I'm not picking these up in any particular order. If you wanted to create a colour pattern with them, you've got a lovely good mix in there, so you can pick and choose if you want to. Each of the colourways has a mix of colours in them. Again, bringing that through. You can see if I do get into a little bit of a twist, it's really forgiving. I can just move it out. And if there's a particular gap, I'll just pull on those outside beads very gently to tighten it up. So now I've created my 4 little circles. I want to get my thread facing the other direction. So I want to bring it this way because I'm going to create that square. So to do that, for this side, this length coming out, I'm just going to bring that back through 1 bead. So it's going to come back through. Again, don't worry if it opens up a little bit. You can tighten it up really easily. So I'm just bringing the end of that thread through that side. And then the thread coming out of here is going to pass through these 3 beads. And that's just going to turn my thread path in the opposite direction. So I can create a corner. So I'm bringing it through the outside one. You can turn it round if it's easier to do. Through the one that joins them together. Now you've got a good size hole in these beads, so you'll be able to bring that thread through multiple times. And then one more, I'm just going to bring it up through that kind of peachy coloured one. So it's passing back through the bead in the opposite direction. And if I need to tighten that up, if I've created a little bit of spacing, again, I'm just pulling on those kind of outer beads to tighten up that circle, and you'll see now that my threads are, if I hold them like this, they're both facing the other direction. So now I'm going to start again. I've already got my first circle. I want 4, so that's 1 already done for us. Add in 1 bead onto each side. And then 1 onto one side. And then the other tail end, passing back through the bead in the opposite direction. Gentle little pull. And that's created my second. Create my third in the same way. One bead on one side, one on the other, and then passing through the third with both tail ends of my thread going in different directions. And I just give it a gentle pull to tighten up the last one as I go. So now I've got 1, 2, 3 little circles, and starting the 4th. This is going to be my next corner. So a really good beginner make. And as I say, your material here using the nylon is very forgiving. But if it's something you'd rather not work with, then you can just swap that out. But you can see if I was using a thread now, I'd be all in a tangle. I also don't need a needle doing it with this. I can just use it with my fingers because it's got that kind of stiffness to it. So passing back through the corner. So one side will run through 3 of the beads. I do apologise if my fingers are in the way, but I will talk you through it. Just tightening that up a little bit. And it's easier. I know obviously you won't be able to see as clearly if my fingers are over it, but if I keep my fingers over it, it keeps that kind of tension a little bit because I can hold the beads in place and stop them slipping. Back through the third. And then this side's just going to pass through that one because we're heading back in this direction to make that square. So I'm just turning it round essentially. Again, if this was wire, that little loop would have created a kink, whereas with the nylon, I can just pull it tight and that will pull that nylon straight again. So I've created 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I'm going to travel back in this direction. So again, 1 onto one side, one onto the other side, and then bringing that back through. So that is now my second little circle. Just repeating that each time. So if you want to make these larger or smaller, you can change the amount of little circular clusters that you're doing. I'm doing mine with 4. 1, 2, 3. This one's going to be my 4th, and they're all sharing, or each new circle shares that middle one. So I'm going to pop one onto one side, one onto the other, and then bringing that through the same one. So I've got 4. Now I want it to travel down this way, because again I'm creating that square. So I'm going to come through this one here at the bottom. So taking the thread which is coming out of the white bead at the bottom, it's going to just go through that lovely little green one there. And then the one coming out of the white bead at the top, or here, is going to go all the way round and back out that green one in the opposite direction. Tighten up that last one if it needs it. I'm just going to pull gently. You can keep your finger on it as you pull. That's going to get my tension a little bit better. So if I lay this out now, you can see I've got all of my corners. I'm just going to work along down the last side, and I still want 4 circles, but the top one and the bottom one are already going to be done. So it's just creating those ones in the middle. So I'm going to do the same again. 1 bead on one side, 1 bead on the other, and bring it back through. And that's going to create my second little cluster on this side of my earring. And then all I'm going to add to the third one is 1 onto one side and 1 onto the other. I'm not going to bring it back through that extra bead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back through the bead that's already there. So what I mean by that is I'm going to join them together. So let's get these beads dropped down. I know it looks a little bit wiggly at the moment. So you can see here, I want to join them together to that green bead there. So I'm going to pretend that that's just like the one I was using before. We're going to go and take 1 thread through one side of it, and then the other tail end is going to go back through in the opposite direction. And then I will draw them together, and that's creating my little square. Now what I want to do is I want to travel up to, I would say, this purple bead on the corner. Now you can hang your earring whichever way you want. I've created them in this kind of diamond pattern here. So I'm going to bring it up there to knot it, and then I can bring it back through, strengthen it up, can tie another knot in it if I want to. I'm just going to go around the outsides really. So at this point you can do whatever you want, but I want these threads to come together just so I can tie a little knot, and then you won't be able to see where that knot joins. So I'm going to take the thread that's coming out of this green bead here that we passed through, and I'm going to go through this peach one. And I'm going to take it across that little purpley lilac coloured one. Again, if you need to create that tension, if it moves about, really easily done, just pulling on the threads to tighten it back up. Then I'm taking the other side, which is coming out the green, and I'm travelling up that peach one. And now my two pieces of thread are together. So I'm just going to tie a little knot in that. So just an overhand knot. You can do a surgeon's knot in it if you like. You can do whatever you want, because you won't be able to see it. So I'm going to do a double knot, so 2 overhand knots in this case. And then just make sure that I'm happy with that laying flat with my fingers. Now I'm going to take the threads and I'm just going to work it around the outsides. You can work it back through the middle. You can do whatever you want. But I find that just passing it around the edges, and this is why I start off with about 60-70 centimetres per earring. So you'll have 36 beads in each of your earrings. So all of that's going to be in your kit today if you want to make along. And you can see I'm just passing that thread around the outside beads, and because they're all nicely lined up, you can go through a few at a time. You can take it around that first corner. And hopefully you can see there, it's just gone through this corner, back out the other side, and again with the other side. Bringing it across, going through all those 4 beads along the outside, and that's going to give it a little bit more structure as well. You can see when I was first making it, it was like a little bit floppy and wasn't necessarily holding its shape. But by just running back through the outside, and I say you can go through the middle ones as well if you want to, but just following that thread path around will create that diamond shape we're after. Now my threads are back together. I'm going to tie a little knot again. Obviously if I pull this really tight, it's going to start to curve in. That might be something you want. If it's not, then I'm just going to flatten it down with my fingers. And just, you can lay that flat while you pull that together. So if you want to, you can work in the middle and that will give it a little bit more structure again, but you've got loads and loads to work with. All I would suggest is whenever you're wanting to kind of finish off, you want to make sure that you move your thread away from the knot. So I'm going to go back through again. You can go through these beads with the nylon thread so many times. So I'm just going to take it back down the sides again. If you work it into the middle, come back out towards the edge because it's just a little bit easier to cut it on the outside. So I've made sure that my thread is away from my knots, and then this is the first time I'm going to be using a tool. I'm just going to trim any of the excess away with my cutters or my scissors, and I've got my lovely little shape ready to go for my ear wire. I tend to pop the ear wire just where the knot is. There's a knot at the bottom and a knot at the top there. It really doesn't matter. You can't see it, but the ear wires in your kit, you'll see you've got, sorry, I'll get into shot, this little kind of ball pinch finish on it. You can add a jump ring or whatever you want, but they do slide nicely in between those top two beads, and then you can push it down with your chain nose pliers or your finger just to get that little ball to touch the top of the ear wire, and they are ready to go and ready to wear. You just need to repeat that process and you have your earrings. So they're the Persephone Jade earrings for you today. There are 5 beautiful colours and they are £3.99 each. So you can get it in the Mardi Gras, which is this one here. We've got the pastels, which is the one I've just demoed for you. We've got sprinkles, which are the kind of red and the blue colourway. We've got Summer Garden, which is this one here with more of the purples in. And then your Tutti Frutti is this one here. So they are £3.99, or if you like, you can buy all 5 colourways in a bundle for £14.99. Jan says they're very cute. I hope that was clear, and I'm hoping with the background that was clear for you as well. You can see here I have done it with wire, and it doesn't need to run all the way back through again. It will hold that shape, but obviously you can't knot wire quite like you can with a thread or a nylon. So I've just created a little wrapped loop at the top. If you do want to use any other thread, you most certainly can do. You'll still get all your ear wires and your coloured jade in your kit. The jade is 4mm in size, so you'd be able to run a thin wire through that. I would use or for this one I've used a 0.3mm wire, which is I think a 28 gauge. I'd still probably use if I just do this, I'd still probably use that full arm span. So I'm just running that through my fingers, but you will find it does kink a little bit more sometimes bringing that back through the bead, and you want to keep your wire straight and stop it from looping because it's more likely to snap otherwise, but that will work in exactly the same way. So I will show you how to do that because we've got plenty of time. I'm going to hold the wire ends together, and that's going to create kind of a bit of a bend and a memory in my wire, so I'll be able to find that middle really easily. Just pour some of my beads out here. So I'm going to be adding 3 beads on to start off with. Let them fall into the middle. And then add my 4th bead on. So you only need those 4 beads when you first start off, and bringing 1 through one end and 1 through the other. And then I'll be drawing those down together trying to keep the wire straight, because as I say, it's not as forgiving as the nylon. So I would just bring that down gradually, and that's going to create my first loop. This will have a little bit more structure to it though, so it won't bend as much as the beads won't bend when you start off, and you'll be able to just reposition it if need be. So then I just need one onto each end. And then back through the third. Gently pull in, and that's creating my second loop with that one in the middle. Jan says she thinks she prefers the wire. I think I love wire, I love wire, but not everybody does. So by using the nylon thread, you've got that invisibility, and I think it'll appeal to all type of makers. If you like to work with wire, you will be able to use the nylon thread, and if you like to be, if you're more of a stitch beader, you'll be able to use the nylon thread. So I think the nylon's probably a little bit more versatile. But again, you need to create that wrap loop really, just to make sure your wire's secure. So that is the third. Get some more beads out. Do love these beads, they're such a lovely colour. You see there's a real difference in not just the colours in them, but the tones. You've got some quite like vibrant, deeper purples, and then the lovely lighter ones, and the peaches and more orange. So I'm now creating my fourth. So one onto each one. I apologise for coming out of shot, it's just why I dropped those down. And then back in with the third bead. So one on one side, one on the other. You might need to keep trimming off the very tip of your wire tails just to get it back through the bead if it does kink. But you'll notice I'm just running it through my fingers. So I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4 circles. You'd also have to be careful if you're making the tension a bit better, but it works exactly the same. You'll notice I just pull on the outer beads gently. So the wire coming out of this side is going to pass through this one, and this one. So it's going to come up that end. And this wire here on the right hand side is just passing through that first one. So I'm turning that thread path still in the opposite direction. So bringing it through, just make sure it just comes through the one bead. And do it slowly if you're using the wire, because as I say, it's not as forgiving, and we want to keep it straight if we can. I find it easier to turn my work around, bringing it through the outside one. And I do this one bead at a time, just so I can make sure that I'm not getting the kinks in the wire. And then back through that one in the middle. Jan says, I love the colours. I'm getting a retro feel from these. I've got a teething granddaughter, making it tricky to chat. Oh, bless her. Amber's meant to help, Joanne. It's been a long time since I went through the whole teething thing. I don't know. Depends how old she is. If she's 6 months, then she can eat solid, so she might want, I don't know, a frozen carrot or something to chew on. Bless her. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm bringing that one through. Again, I'm just guiding that wire as I go, doing it slowly. It might kink, and then you just have to be a little bit more forceful with it to pull it through, and it shouldn't snap. You should be okay. So you can see now I've brought it back through in the opposite direction. I might as well make all of this with you, mightn't I? If the camera plays along, I've got the time. So one onto one side is just repeating that same process. One onto the other side. The wire's flailing about under the camera. And then back through the same bead in the opposite direction. The first two that I put on will fall to the bottom, tightening that up. Again, one on one side, one onto the other end. Just one of the beads was slightly flatter on the corner. I did find with the Mardi Gras colourway, there is a dark green bead in that mix, and sometimes they are ever so slightly bigger in size. It doesn't matter, it still works, but I think when I was doing that colourway, I did pick out the beads that were more uniform in size, just because I think because the colour of the Mardi Gras bead, with the slightly, it's ever so slightly larger, was a darker green and a darker shade than the others. It just stuck out a little bit more to me. So I just, there's plenty in your pack. So I just took those ones out. One onto one side, one onto the other. Back through. It's just repeating the same thing over and over and over again until you get that fourth circle. Again, got 1, 2, 3, 4 circles, and they share that same bead. Oh, she's not Joanne, she's 9 months. Gosh, where's that time gone? She mainly wanted comfort to go to sleep. Cutting is awful, but she's such a happy little one and she enjoys watching along with me. Oh, bless her. Jan says this would make a pretty pendant too. Yeah, I would do. You could even, bead string up a necklace and have that as your focal pendant. That would absolutely work. Or you could join them together and you could do whatever with them. Okay, so I've got to my fourth circle. So I'm bringing the wire from this side through one. Just wants to twist. And then the wire or thread coming out of this bead is going to go through this one, and this one to face out that way. So just turn that around. And my pattern will then move towards the inside so it creates that square. You could do this with a needle if you wanted to. You know I don't like needles. But it is a really good beginner make. Very straightforward, very simple, and quick to do. Hello Monica, hope you're well. If you're just joining us, I'm making the Persephone gemstone earrings. So we're using the 4mm die Jade to create these lovely little diamond shaped earrings, and they come in a whole lot of lovely colours. So coming down in this direction, one onto one side, one onto the other, is just a very simple right angle weave, and just placing a bead onto one side of my threading material and bringing it back through in the opposite direction to create little circles. We'll join them together. Quite like having the negative space in the middle as well. You've not got much, when this is fully formed. But I think it's quite nice. Again, you could work all the way into it, and there's lots of different things that you could do. I seem to have picked out more of the greens and the purples on this one. And I think that's also what I like about this, because I'm not, going this colour here and that colour there. I'm just picking it up at random. It means your earrings aren't going to be identical. They're going to be a matching pair, but, you've got a little bit of contrast in the colours. And I think that's really nice. So again, making my 4th circle. So I'm just adding a bead onto each end of the wire, and then I'm putting one bead onto one side and bringing it back through. So now I'm going to start to bring it back through to kind of finish that square off. So again, taking one end of the thread through the one bead, if I'm using wire and it starts to kink like this, I'm just going to try and twist it back out again and give it a pull to get that kink out of. The other side of the wire is going to pass through all 3 of the beads in the opposite side. So I'm going to go through this one. You can see where I'm going with that. It's going to go through the bead that joins those circles together. So in this case, the purple one. And then it's going to go back through that peachy one. So it's now facing this way. So I've already got 2 of my 4 circles for this side. So I'm just going to pop 2 beads on and bring it back. Through another. And then one more, but I don't need to bring it back through another. I can bring it back through this one that's already here. So one onto one side, one onto the other. Let me turn it around this way for you. So I'm going to bring one end of the wire back through this purple one to join. And then this side of the wire is going to go again through the purple one. And I've got my lovely shape. I still want to bring them up. I'm going to go for that corner. So I'm going to bring this side of the wire through that one. It's coming out of the green one. It's quite a limey green, that one. Lovely. And I'm also going to take it up through there. So I'm getting to the corner. Just give that a little pull through. Now the wire that's coming out of the purple one here, I'm going to bring up through that side. And you'll see I've now got my shape. So I don't need to, with it being wire, you can create that kind of bend in it if you want to. It's got that structure. And now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to twist these two wires together so I can make a little wrap loop. If you're using the nylon in your kit, you're just going to tie a knot with those, travel it back through, and then cut off. So I'm just going to twist. So all I'm doing is just twisting the earring itself, splayed those two little wires out, and that's creating a slightly thicker gauge of wire for me. I can then make a little wrap loop using my round nose pliers or my bail step pliers. So I'm using the wire, I'm going to bend it across and over. So I've got my circle. If you want to, you can cut off. You can see I've got loads of excess wire there. So I'm just going to cut off after my twists. Don't know where I've put my round nose, so I'm going to use my bail step. And then I'm just going to slightly lift. Sorry if I can get this into shot. I'm going to slightly lift this wire up here. So then when I start to wrap that round, I can create, you can do this with your pliers or with your fingers. Tend to leave my round nose in just to keep that shape, or you can just hold it with a pair of pliers gently across the loop. Put that into my less dominant hand, and then just with your other pair of pliers, just as you would normally with a wrap loop, just bringing it across until I get down towards those beads. Trim off any excess, making sure I'm just cutting off the excess, not any of the wire that goes through the beads. And then with your pliers, you're going to need to tuck down any of those little ends. And then you can pop your ear wire on. And then you have exactly the same effect, but with the wire. Sheila says, I like the effect with the wire. I think it gives it more support. It does give it a little bit more support, which means you don't have to bring it back through. But using the nylon, you can see the wire here. If I hold this up, you can see that nylon. You can't see the nylon thread path, but you can see the wire. So if you're wanting to use a thread, a coloured thread, or you're wanting to use the wire, you're going to need to bear that in mind. I only really demoed with the wire just so it showed up a little bit more on camera. Also, you can knot your nylon, and you you would have to create that little wrap loop, I suppose, with the wire. So I'm going to take you very quickly back over to the website so you can have a little look at what is there. So we are the Persephone Jade earrings today on Totally Beads in the live tutorial. You can get this lovely bundle with all of your gorgeous jade mixes in there. They are, so you'd be needing for a pair of earrings 72 beads. So you will get in this bundle all of the beads you need in all of those mixes. And again, you can mix them up as well if you want to, if you think, you know, I'm somebody who just likes kind of those kind of citrusy colours. Window, which doesn't see, there you go. You know, you could pick out all of the yellows in each different one. You could pick out all the different tones of pinks or purples or whatever in each of the kit. So they are 4mm dyed jade beads. You've got your ear wires and your nylon thread. So if you want to get the bundle, that's there for you for $14.99. If instead you just want to make one pair of earrings up, you can get them here in whichever colourway that you prefer, and they are £3.99 each. We've got them in Mardi Gras, pastels, sprinkles, summer garden, and tutti frutti. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm not going to be back with you on Friday. I think Kitty will be with you instead. We're still going to be doing a live, but it's not going to be me. I've got a hospital appointment, so I won't be with you on Friday, but I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. I'm making gorgeous gemstone bracelets with you next week, so if you can come and join me then, I'd be very delighted to see you there. I hope you all have a lovely week. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Take care.